Hello, everybody. Again, I'm back. This is the 11th episode. Like we had told you earlier, ninth, 10th, 11th, and another two episodes to follow, they all will be about the case studies. These case studies, instead of just listening to the case studies as stories or something to do with business, I want you to focus only on one thing. How is the thinking which we have been talking in the first eight episodes actually related to these case studies? Who applied? Who should have applied macro thinking? Who should have applied micro thinking? Who should have applied sequential? Who should have applied simultaneous thinking? When we should have thought in open air? I don't use the term out of the box. And last, how do we put it on timeline? Is it only one person's job or is it everyone's? Is it applicable in business as an entrepreneur or in corporate if you are working, or is it applicable in personal life? After all, doesn't your personal life seamlessly enter your work life, and work life seamlessly enters your personal life? So why shouldn't we train our minds to think in such a way that we take care of our entire life, the work, the family, the personal life together? If we can do that, there is nothing called stress. And that's what these case studies are about. I am talking of the case studies which are business related. Shubhankar will be talking about case studies which are personal in nature because he's been learning. So soon as he talks about his experience, not only has he been with me for all these case studies which I'm telling you, he has been working with me. He also has been applying that in the personal life. How did I put that in my personal life and my business was what my first case study was about. Coming to this one, I'll be talking about two cases, both business again. One particular company, a startup, a brilliant idea, and a brilliant prototype. Client, government, and the world. Opportunity or the size of the market, crazy. Absolutely crazy. The second is about a family business which was taken over by the gentleman from his father. Very nicely set up business, massive revenues, massive revenues. And still I was there. So if there are revenues, I go there. If it was a startup and a brilliant idea, I was there. The previous episode was about that man having all the money in the world and having no knowledge about the business. And I was there. And like I say, in all these cases, I have identified exactly the same problem. Let me first take this case of the startup. Two brilliant guys who had a fantastic technological solution with them. They made a prototype, imported things from China and all these locally sourced things, and thereafter they made something which was going to be used by the defense. And a lot of funding. So one guy would only be focused towards the funding to get the funds from venture capitalists and angel investors and everyone for the market. And the second guy would completely focus towards the technology. And as always it happens, they both claimed to know everything, every aspect of the company, and there is nothing that they did not know. The company was surviving on 3 months overheads. The time I had gone there, they had 3 months, and one of the founder members was desperately searching for funding, which they later on we came to know another year and a half down the line, they got it. So it's not about what funding they get, whether you get the funding. At the end of the day, whether you have to return the funds or you don't have to return, At the end of the day, it all comes down to what was your revenue? How much were you able to sell? Were you able to sell? If your idea was so brilliant, then why did it not sell? And that's the place where we met them in one of the exhibitions just before the COVID lockdown last year, 2020. And after having a detailed discussion thereafter, it was decided that we would be called over to give them advice and carry out audit of the company and thereafter execute whatever they thought. And that actually took me to that company. What I was actually impressed was with the company, the office, a massive office, top floor, AC, beautiful benches, beautiful work desks. It was absolutely the works. I also saw the cars in the parking of the founders. So I knew where exactly the money was going. And in that state, when I went up, so they had about 11, 12 odd employees and they wanted everyone to attend. They thought that I'm going to be teaching them exactly how to carry out business. I was there for audit. So I started off and there were 11 people. So I just asked only one question. I said, out of you, I said, if this building is on fire, so who all are likely to be hanging around here? Everyone raised their hand. They had to. The founder was watching, the managing director was watching. So how could they have not? So I asked only the founders to stay back and asked everyone else to leave. Then I asked these two people that out of these 11 people who have gone out, how many are likely to stay? So they thought over, they said, okay, one, two, three, four. I said, these four will go, rest all will stay. Out of the seven, then I started posing more and more tricky situations. And finally, they come out that other than these two founders, they said that not even one person will stay here. Everyone will jump out of the building. And rightly so. Why should they hang around? At the end of the day, they don't own the company, they don't get funds, they only get their salary. So, whether they are good, bad, or ugly, or they're contributing or not contributing, they will not stay when the company sinks. So, finally, these two people were there. So, I said, okay, my entire audit is going to be about you to tell you exactly. The first thing that I asked, I said, where is your market? What are the clients? So, it was essentially a government market they were targeting at. So, what are the ministries? How many state governments? What is the budgeting process? Who budgets? When will they budget? Once they budget, when do you get your sale? How do you sell? Do they have powers to buy offhand from the market, off the rack? Can someone over the counter buy your stuff? So, what is the government procurement procedure? What happens if you are the only one who is making that stuff and there is no one else? What are the single tender conditions? What is GFR? What is government e-marketplace? How exactly is this process going to start? Who will start the process? Because you get calls for numerous amount of demonstrations, does it mean that you are going to get sales? Where are your proposals that you send, which the officers read? Where are your brochures? Has everything been aligned? Where is your database of your clients? How many regular proposals do you send each month? If there is a sales guy, what exactly should he know in sales to be able to sell your product? What questions do you ask that person when you take an interview? Who is your HR? How does your HR know what exactly should a person have in his CV to identify whether to shortlist him for the interview or not? Can you have a person separately for sales, separately for marketing, separately for BD? If yes, what exactly should be their attributes? I came back to my favorite questions. How many email IDs do you have? Who is managing it? How is it being managed? Where is your central repository as far as your information is concerned? How is your administration being managed? How are the salaries being managed? We had about a 4 hour long question answer session where these two people were sitting. At the end of the day, my conclusion was the guy who was looking after technical, other than technical, he had absolutely no knowledge of anything. The other founder member, who also was his senior in his engineering college and who had become a founder member, was a hardcore technical man. He had absolutely no knowledge of anything. Their idea was brilliant, their prototype was good, their connections were very good because through their institution, alumni, and yeah, they knew exactly where to knock the door. So they had the people to invest, and they took it that because the investors are so excited about our project, so obviously, so we are the kingmakers now. So we are going to sell. So on one hand, the funding would come, and massive overheads they had created in order to impress people. So this would suck out the funds. And when it came to sales, marketing, and BD, as on that day, they did not have even 1 rupee as a lead, not even a rupee as an opportunity. Sales, forget about it. There was no pipeline, there was nothing. But every day morning, the reviews would take place. This was that classic case where, at the end of the day, when the two founders sat, they actually were holding their head that they actually don't know anything about how to run a company, how to hire, how to sell. And just because of one product, they were sitting there. Whatever happened with that company, it's again a matter of confidentiality. I can't be revealing the identity, but this was the fact. And then we gave a very long report, and thereafter they asked us to put everything right. And for that, since we had a very different model, a commercial model, so after that we sent the proposals to them along with our whatever charges and whatever rates that they wanted for all the work to be done. And once we had told them, that's the last we heard from them. And it always happens like this. So this is what actually happens. So instead of actually now trying to make an effort to, okay, put everything right, you have been investing money on the wrong side, so might as well put money in the right side, learn everything quietly from a consultant, and not to reveal to the employees that you don't know anything, and quietly just kill yourself, arm yourself, and then take on the business. A person would rather go for funding. So this is why the businesses fail. Now here I come to the next case. A family run business, basically in the optical field, and the gentleman, the senior gentleman, the senior generation, he was very good at it, and tremendous amount of products, and massive business, massive revenue. And the revenue was from including government, from everyone. Government probably was just about 4 or 5%, and 95% was from the civil market. So his desire was that he wanted to have a big chunk in the government market, and he had no idea as to how to go around. And when we say government market, it essentially came down to only the security forces. And after number of discussions, finally I landed him in that company to have detailed discussions with everyone, to find out what exactly was happening, to meet the management, to meet the team, to meet the senior lot of the company. Because my expectation was, since this revenue is so high, uh, I'll not talk in terms of crores, very, very high. I expected probably three to four vice presidents and I think seven, eight general managers and a big sales team and marketing. And somehow they were not able to crack this government market. So, how exactly should we go about? So I was very excited. Okay, fine. I said this is the place where to tell them exactly how to handle the security forces market. And when I land up in the company, there was someone who opened the door, and I walked in and I kept on walking, and there were only workers on the floor. Machines were operating. Then I go to the first floor. Again, there were people working. And then I go to a cabin where I was made to sit, a lush, posh cabin in an industrial area. And then I thought that probably I'm at the wrong place. Probably I have landed up at the factory. Their companies may be somewhere else. And then the discussion started. And by about lunchtime, I was in an absolute state of shock. Absolute state of shock. This was a one man company. Father handed over to the son, and the next senior person to this gentleman was a class 12 pass guy who would sit outside his cabin on a table chair, whose job was to make invoices, to collect cash, and I have no idea of who was doing. So there was no one in the company. And then there were almost about 60 to 70 workers, basically machine operators. They were operating different machines. It took me almost an hour to understand the company, how exactly is he functioning. And there was this just one man. He did not have anyone to assist. From there, he wanted a government market, security forces market to crack, which actually requires a big team 24/7 working, understanding this entire market, understanding procedures, understanding the central government procurement procedures, their documents, the e-marketplace. It is mind-boggling. And thereafter, once you understand the procedures, then you don't know which door to knock, where exactly you must go and give a demonstration, what exactly should be your paperwork, how exactly the budgeting process to kick, and when this budgeting process kicks, when exactly it is going to manifest into to a accepted to a past budget. Okay, fine, this is the amount for this project, but when is that project going to be executed? Where exactly is there on timeline? So no one knew. So here is one man sitting, massive revenue, and the next number two is a class 12 guy, the most educated. So he is his HR, he is his BD, he is his sales, he is invoice, he is clerk, he is the water guy, he is the snacks guy, and he is the food guy. How do you run the business like this? And then one wants to expand. So with this sort of a thing, absolutely closed mind, the business is, can this business, will you call it a successful business? Most of you will feel yes, since the revenues are so big, it's a successful business. Yeah, fine. So then you don't require anyone to advise you as to how to run it. You know it all. But then is that what it is? Your potential is 6x, 7x. Why? Because you are making the best equipment in the industry, the highest standard, supplying to 3M globally. And here you can't sell one item to Government of India. This is what exactly happens when your mind is closed. So if the mind is open, you okay say, fine, I'll keep aside 1 crore. Let me completely reform. Let me reorganize the company. So, but it doesn't happen. What happened with that company, whether we worked with them, whether we did not work with them, is entirely a different story. It has to be a success story because the company was good. But then imagine massive revenues, a company going on, a private limited company, which did not even have their own emails, because who the hell he's sends his email to himself? One man. That class 12 guy doesn't even know how to operate emails. So he would type the email and send it to one government officer, another one, send it to one, and then he wants a government business. That's a problem. Come down to it, everything comes down to thinking. Could he think macro and micro? Does he know everything? Does he know every job? Had he known every job, how it is done, and knows that I don't know, so would he not expand his team, learn everything? But it doesn't happen. And these are the places where, when we talk, we actually want you to think over these case studies and ask yourself, am I like this? Do I need to change? Do I need to change my thinking? If yes, how? And that's what this entire case study is about. So here I come to end of this episode, which was episode number 11. And from here we go on to the next episode 12, again for the case studies only. So like we said, we'll be having a mix of case studies where we have an entrepreneur who's got huge amount of money, no knowledge. We have got another entrepreneur, he's got massive revenues, no knowledge, but a successful running company. We have a entrepreneur who has a brilliant idea, brilliant product, but absolutely each one of them has only one thing in common: closed minds. Open yours. Take care and see you again. Bye bye.